Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make a spinner card, and a spinner card is totally cool because you have this interactive little element that spins around, so you can twist it up before you put it in the envelope, and then when your recipient takes it out it'll spin, or it'll even just catch the breeze and spin around a little bit. I'm using some supplies today from Stampin' Up, and you can order them from your Stampin' Up demonstrator if you have one, but if you don't, I will link up to my friend Wendy's website so you can order from her. She has a lot of great free tutorials on her blog and YouTube channel, and she also gives out goodies to her customers for, you know, spending a certain amount of money. So I will definitely make sure you can get hooked up with her if you want to order them. This is really easy to do. You don't, of course, have to use the supplies I'm using, but I am gonna show you what I have because it's a little bit easier. So basically you're gonna need an image that you can use in the middle. I used a punched image, and you can find punch art if you don't have this particular punch, but I thought this would be really good because you can flip the pieces around and have something that's completely symmetrical on either side. You know what I mean? Like you can flip it and have it the same. So if you're looking for a stamped image to do this, find something that's symmetrical so that you won't have overlap on either side. So of course, first thing I did was I made a couple envelopes with some pretty pattern paper. This is actually from Company. It's a bit old, but I really liked kind of the poppy colors and the kind of vintage camping clip art. And of course I saved my scraps because that's what we're going to use. And then what you're going to want to do is, I'm using a punch, and this is the, I think it's called Fox Builder from Stampin' Up. These big punches are fantastic. Just be careful. I keep wanting to catch my finger in there when I'm punching, so I just want you to be aware of that if you're letting your kids use your punch. You might want to punch it for them, or just tell them to keep their fingers out of here because, you know, this is not a chintzy thing. This is a heavy duty thing. So because we need two of our foxes, we want to punch this twice. Alright, and you get all the pieces with one punch. The only thing is, if you're doing like the ears, you'll need to punch them out twice. And I think that, well, there's only one nose. See, there's only one ear in there. So if you're looking for the ears, you'll need to actually punch them out, because there's only one ear. You'll have to punch them out 4 times out of the color you want, just because you'll have 2 ears on each side. And so then I'm using this white, and I'm going to punch again twice, because again, I need to make 2 foxes. Just watch your fingers. And those little ear pieces love to get lost, so you might even just want to use a gel pen to put those in. But what you can do, what I do is I look at kind of these little areas that would just kind of be wasted, and the little ear is right there. So I just kind of sneak it in like this, and I'll get a couple of little punches right there so I can get my extra 3 ear pieces that I need. Just watch those fingers. I do like these flat punches. They save space because you can clip them shut, which is also nice if you have little kids around and you're afraid they might go playing in your punch drawer and get their fingers caught. You can clip this shut when you're not using it. You just squeeze it and then you just slide the little lever, and that way kids aren't going to go sticking their finger in there and getting it pinched if you have it on your shelf. So my kids are older now, but that's something I always was considerate of when they were little. So we want to get out the pieces we need. For the body, we need the red pieces. We need 2 tails, 2 bodies, 2 heads. So I'm just kind of organizing so don't throw away anything good. Now for the white pieces, we need the 2 eye mask areas. So we've got one right here. I should have 2 good ones because I punched 2 complete ones. I got 2 eye mask areas, and we've got to find all those little ears. And it might be handy to have like a little crystal pickup to kind of pick up some of these little pieces and place them down in the glue, because I've let my fingernails grow, and I'm about ready to cut them off because they're driving me bananas. I can't pick up anything because my nails are too long. Got a couple right there, and there should be one more little ear right there. And then I'm just gonna brush the rest of this stuff away because I don't think I need them. I'll just push it to the side in case I realize I do need a piece. Now another thing I do is I go grab my scraps, and I cut out a little piece to anchor things to. And I do that with the body color just in case I didn't, you know, in case I make a mistake and you see something, it's going to be the body color, so it's not going to be a big deal. So what we need to do is we need to adhere everything together. So I'm going to use some fine tip glue and put a little bit of glue on this little connecting strip, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to put this right down on top. This is the body piece here, the bottom of the body piece. I'll put the head piece down. Oh, and one other thing I like to do, I'll take the 2 white body pieces, and I'm going to trim a little chest piece off here. This, I was looking at the stamp set, and that's what gave me the idea for doing this piece, because it's a part of the stamp set. So there's a stamp set that coordinates with this, so I just cut 2 of these and I put that right under here. So if you didn't have the punch and you want to use a stamp set, you could, because the other than the tail, the stamps are symmetrical. You might need to, like, you know, you stamp the tail twice and just glue it onto the other side. So we got that. We've got the mask. And this is a little bit awkward because these pieces are a little small, but... And we got our little tip of the tail, and we have our ears. So I'm just going to put a little dab for each of those. You could use a tweezer too, that might help. I find that I usually get a teeny little bit of glue sometime on my finger while I'm working, and I can just have enough to help me place things, just enough to grab those little die cuts. So then after you do that, you're going to flip it over, and I like to do that on like a piece of waxed paper. Flip it over. You're going to glue that tail down to the back. Don't let the tail stick out too much, because when we had the spinner going, you don't want the tail to hit the edge, okay? And then you're going to repeat that on the back side, but you do need to add a string in here to make the spinner. So I just got, you could use anything, but I would use something that's kind of like a cotton or absorbent, so that when you put your glue down, it's going to grab it. If you use fishing line, I'm just afraid the fishing line might slip. I think I've done them with fishing line before and they were fine, but I don't know how long it would hold up for. So you could let this dry as well before you go ahead and put your second fox together. And then you just rebuild everything the opposite way. Just stack it up and glue all your pieces down as you did before with all the layers and what have you. Now, through the magic of YouTube, I've already done that process, so I'm going to grab that. Also, I'll show you in a second how I would obviously put the white pieces down, and then I clip it with some clothespins to keep everything held flat while it's drying. So here is the one that I've already done that's dry, and we're going to zoom back out here. Remove these clips, and we have our little fox. And then I'm going to use the stamp from this kit right here. This is Foxy Friends. It coordinates with this, the punch. So if you punch this out of white, you could stamp on it with these colors, and it's really, really cute. And I have the little face right there on a mount already. And also there are ideas online where you can make like all different kinds of animals. So raccoons and I think bears and stuff like that. So I think Wendy's got some ideas on her website for that as well. So you do need to rock it a little bit since you already have the that string in there, or you could, you know, do it ahead of time. That probably would have been smarter, stamp this on before you glue it together, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. Or you could use a little pen if you don't have the stamp set and you just want to get the punch. The pen will work just fine. So there's that, and I'm just going to set this aside for a second. To make the card base, what you want to do is, I'm using a half a sheet of cardstock card, and I'm using a nice heavyweight cardstock so I don't have to worry about it warping. And then I've cut this panel to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and this is just another one from that same collection of paper. I didn't have any leftover from the envelopes I made because I cut out the different things that were on the pattern paper because there was some pretty clip art, so I thought I might use that for embellishment. So I already cut that out, so I wasn't left with enough to make another panel. So what I'm going to do is just tape this down to my card base so I have it where I want it. And then I'm going to put my die down here so I can cut through both layers at once. And then I want to take my little spinner here and make sure it's going to fit. Okay, so I got to make sure it's gonna clear that. I think it will. It's right in the center. It should just clear it. just barely. So now I'm going to die cut this and we'll be back to assemble our card. Okay, so when I ran it through the die cutter, obviously I didn't close the card because I wanted to just cut through that front layer, and there we have our pieces like that. So now we're going to take our little piece for the string and we're just going to kind of line it up in there, and I like to just try to spin it around a little bit, make sure it's not going to hit. Just going to clear it, I think. Yeah, just clear it just like that. And what I like to do is actually use a little washi tape to hold it down, because that will give us a little time to let glue dry. So I'm just going to set that one out of the way and slide this up into camera so you can see what I'm talking about here. And we're going to be adding adhesive over this. It's really strong, so I really don't feel like I'm going to like it's not going to be strong enough. In fact, I think I'll put down my first adhesive, my paper adhesive. This is what I would use. This isn't what I would use just for a regular card. It's a little stronger than what you need. It's kind of very similar to the score tape. It's just a different brand. And I'm just going to make sure I put this down, leaving, I don't want it to go over the edge, over into the border area. There will be an 1/8 of an inch little border there. Can you see where I just put that tape? I'm going to go ahead and put this down first. Like that one's going to go a little too long, so I'm just going to tear that with my fingernail. Any extra tape you can stick in there wherever. And this is just going to give us, it's a little too skinny over there, I think. It's just going to give us a really, really sticky base. And so for there, I'm just going to break that up. I didn't have it perfectly centered, but it really doesn't matter. This is, you're really not going to be able to tell that it's not absolutely perfect when you go and put your embellishing on and stuff, so try not to fret about that. Oops, I got that stuck to my finger. And one more little piece right there, and let's just remove those liners, at least on the top and the bottom, and then we can stick him in here. You want to pull that string pretty tight. Okay, there we go. Then I'm going to go over this with some more tape. I'm going to use this one because I don't have very much use. These are cute. I picked these up at AC Moore, these little Foxy ones. They had it was 3 for $1. You got all 3 of these rolls for washi tape. It was $1. It was perfect for this card. So I'm just going to go over that right there, stick that down really good. I'm going to use a little wider washi tape here on the bottom, and then I'm going to enforce it with wet glue, because I just want to make sure that this doesn't just get pulled a couple times and then, you know, it goes away. So I want to make sure it's going to be nice and strong. So I'm going to do a little bit of wet glue right here, right on the string, and I'm really working it in there with the tip of that glue bottle because I want it to absorb into the string and go through to the back side. I have to be careful because I'm real close to the border there. Alright, then I'm going to snip my string right to the edge of that tape. So I did use a little too much. I wasted a little string there, but there we go. And now I can remove this liner here, and we can put our mat down. So a tip that I have for you, if you like to use pattern paper stacks, which I do, especially if it's a really nice quality pattern paper, it's like a little bit thicker and double-sided, I will, when I have a scrap of a paper, as long as it's pretty decent size, I'll stick it back in the pad. So when I'm going to do something like this, and I've made my I took 2 pieces out to make my envelopes, that way I have those little scraps for if I run out and I need a little something extra. So this is a little tricky. I need to pull this a little closer to myself so I can look straight down and line this up, because I'm holding the card kind of in front of me how I'm filming, so just excuse me for a second. I got to pull this a little closer to myself so I can line this up, but I will scooch it right back as soon as I determine that I've got it in about the right spot. Okay, that's pretty close. Got little die cut pieces hanging around. Now I can layer that down, and it's covering up so our string is trapped in the middle, and it looks nice and neat from both sides. See that? Nice and neat from both sides. Okay, now we're going to do the embellishing here. And so what I did, I'll show you the envelope again because the paper was so pretty. look at all those cute little clip arts that were on the paper, and I thought, boy, I think I'd like to cut some of those out and use them to embellish my my card because it's so adorable. So what I'm going to do is just work with the kind of the placement of a few of these. I did stamp happy birthday, and the stamp I used for this, let me show you, it's from this set called Icing on the Cake. I love this set when I saw it and I bought it, and then I was like, oh, this is, I don't really know what I'm going to use it for, but when I looked at that, to me it kind of looked like branches. If I'm like, if I stamp that in brown, it's going to look like branches, and so that's what I did here, and I am going to use that, and I might put these up higher on this card because I don't think that will interfere with the string. And I'm just kind of seeing where I could put some of these things to. Oh, I like that a lot. I just got to make sure it's not going to interfere with the spinner. And I die cut some little whatchamacallit, I die cut a little bit of foliage from, again, the it was this paper right here that I used on this first envelope. I had some left over. I die cut a ton of like little leaves from that color because I figured that will coordinate, that would be pretty. And so yeah, I think I'm about ready to glue these down. Okay, I think I want to add a little ink to the edge of these little banners. So, and by the way, I just stamped this on the back of one of those pattern paper pieces. I'll show you right here. It was that camper paper. I just stamped it on the back. So I know it's going to match. It's really light, but it has a little bit of texture and it looks nice. And this is just a makeup sponge and a bottle cap. That's my fancy sponge blender. And I just think that just helps it look a little bit more finished. Okay, so now I'm just going to start gluing all these little pieces down. Alright, you can add any other embellishments that you want on the front, but I think I'm going to keep that one like that because that's kind of simple. And then on the inside, I'm going to grab that wax paper and just kind of set that on my wax paper in case there's any leftover glue. On the inside, I want to make a little frame of washi tape because it just matches perfectly. So I am just going to tear off a few strips and make myself a little frame to write inside. So, you know, the thing to keep in mind is that when you write on the inside of this card, there's a window there so you would see it. You could always put like a liner or a little vellum over it or something like that if you wanted to disguise it a little bit, but I think it's kind of cute. Usually when you're setting it down on a table, you wouldn't really see, you really wouldn't see the writing too much because it would be open, but I just wanted to make you aware of that, just in case you wanted to kind of maybe change the way you put your sentiment in there. But I'm just gonna, since I have happy birthday on the outside, I'm gonna leave the inside open for just doing a handwritten note. And I have to tell you that most of my cards that I sell, I keep blank on the inside, so I get to ask that a lot because people know that I sell handmade cards. I usually just leave them blank on the inside. So if there isn't a sentiment on the outside, it's, you know, pretty easy to see that it's for any occasion. But I just think that's kind of a cute look, and we all need excuses or ways to use that washi tape. Alright, so I don't want to spin this too aggressively because things could still be wet, but we can give it a little bit of a spin and see. It's not hitting the edges, which is the important part. And look at that! So cute! I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you want to find any of the supplies that I used today, make sure you check out the video description because I will have all of the products linked up over at my friend Wendy's Stampin' Up! Website. Or of course, you can check out your local Stampin' Up! Demonstrator if you don't have one. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting!